What's up, world? This is America. My name is Hobson McCain,
My name's Mark White Rev.
and we're here bringing you episode 4 of This is America. So, we're going to start off this week with our international segment. Um, as you guys know, in the past few weeks, there's been a lot of international news from G7 summit to the meeting with Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un. This week, we're going to focus on what the U.S. actually gained from the Kim Jong Un and Donald Trump meeting. There's a lot of speculation as to where or what we got out of the meeting. The left doesn't think we got much. The right, thinks this was a revolutionary summit. So we're going to analyze that, uh, diagnose what the positive of the meeting were and the negatives of the meeting. So Mark, you got anything to add?
Well, for me, I first off think that we need to point out that Donald Trump meeting with Kim Jong Un did indeed actually, quell a bit of the tensions that we had building between the U.S. and North Korea. The issue that we're having right now is that people aren't too sure, what we gave and how much we got from the interaction. The interaction.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. This meeting definitely had positive aspects. I don't think anybody can say that this was a negative meeting for the United States of America. It it definitely stopped, the talks of nuclear war and, the talks of just getting into military interaction with North Korea. So that is a positive. We'll start off with that. So, I guess we can say, give a round of applause to DT for maintaining his composure over there. We don't know what happened, but there is other things to analyze when looking at this meeting. First, I would just like to say that Kim Jong Un did pledge denuclearization in April, before the meeting. So this pledge that he made isn't necessarily a new pledge. And it's not the first time North Korea has made this pledge. We'll get into that in a second. And I think another important thing to note is that there are no agreements or sanctions that say anybody in the international stage can go in, inspect, or verify that North Korea has denuclearized anything. They don't have to.
We can't go check to see if they denuclearize.
It doesn't say that we can't, but it doesn't there's nothing ensuring that it's going to happen. And with these international agreements that you need to have everything written out in pretty specific detail.
You need to have verify. You need to have a way to make sure that everything's going the way that it should be.
Yeah. So
going like Korea and nuclear bombs, because it's not something that we should be playing a lot of games with, especially with the tension that we just had between the U.S. and them.
And with that said, North Korea does have a nuclear arsenal right now. It's not nearly as extensive as the United States. Not many countries in the world are, but they do have nuclear missiles and nuclear warheads. And like I said before, there was no clause in the agreement or the treaty that said that they had to get rid of any of those nuclear warheads. So, yeah.
What exactly does denuclearization entail? Like, what exactly does that mean that they have to do? Because if they already have their nuclear bombs, does that mean they're going to stop trying to test new ones? Does that mean they're going to stop trying to progress? Because if they already have nuclear bombs, then it really doesn't matter that they're done trying to make new ones, because they're officially a nuclear superpower.
Yes and no. I don't think they're a nuclear superpower. They have nuclear weapons, but as compared to other nuclear countries, they're still not, on par with the Russias and the United States of the world. With that said, a nuclear weapon is a nuclear weapon. So if that bomb hits somewhere, it's going to cause pretty much the same it's going to not the same devastation, but it's going to cause enough devastation to be felt, miles outside the epicenter of the blast radius. So
it's going to be close, pretty close to the same thing. Because nuclear. What people need to understand about nuclear bombs nobody in the entire world wants a nuclear war, because a nuclear war to me marks the apocalypse. Because
100%.
I don't see one country sending a nuke and nobody else responding with a nuke. And we just can't have nukes flying around the world, flying around the globe, and landing everywhere, because nuclear bombs don't just explode; they also have residual effects like radiation and all that. And we really can't afford that on a global scale. So I don't think that anybody really wants to use nuclear bombs. Everybody just wants to have that same type of power so that they can use it as a deterrent for other countries to mess with them.
Yeah, and I think just exactly what you just said is something that a lot of people are missing with the whole interaction with North Korea. North Korea isn't getting these bombs with the plan to shoot them at the United States. They're getting the bombs so that they can have a seat at the world table and start having discussions about what goes on in the world. Because if you look at it, the world the I think there's 12 countries that have nuclear weapons, and those are all the countries that make the major decisions in the world because they have the most power. So
Yeah.
North Korea just wants a seat at that table. The fact that they were testing to see if missiles could hit California is just to say that they could. Just to say that if we did get into a nuclear war and you guys shot a nuke at us, we would be able to shoot one back. Because if you can't do
Yeah.
that, then every other country that doesn't have a nuke is at the mercy of any country that does. So, you know,
And like with the way that we know that Kim Jong Un thinks, he thinks very similar to Donald Trump. It's actually pretty eerie how similarly they think. Even Donald Trump said that he wanted his people to act like Kim Jong Un's people and sit up straight when he comes in the room. He wanted the same kind of respect that man gets. Like they think on kind of the same wavelength. So imagine Donald Trump being not the president of a third world country, but the president of a country that doesn't have nuclear bombs. Imagine a Donald Trump with no nukes. Donald Trump with no nukes would want a whole bunch of nukes. We can
100%.
imagine the tweets right now. He would be saying that we need them so that we can have a seat at the table. We would need them so that we can be respected as a country. He wouldn't say that we need them so that we can go to war. You don't want to have a nuclear war. That to me makes no sense. To get your first nukes and then shoot them at somebody and have them shoot their nukes back at you. To me, that's just a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of everybody's resources, and it's just pointless to me. Like a nuclear war is the singular worst thing that we can have happen. So I don't think that any world leaders are actually going down that path and planning to use any nuclear warheads. Even Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, no,
This is
if they're the leader of a country, then they understand that a nuclear war isn't beneficial for anybody. So, I mean, could we be worried about a nuclear war? Could there be a leader in the future that, decides to test his luck? Like, I suppose there could, but any rational, self-preserving individual is gonna recognize that if I push this button, there's 12 other countries in the world that are gonna push their button, and then humanity is gonna be gone as we know it. So,
yeah, like
nuclear
not going to
war
be the
is
humanity different. Like a nuclear bomb touching the ground, especially the ones that we have. I live in Dayton, Ohio. I've been to the Wright Pat Air Force Base. We have nuclear bombs. I'm not going to say we have nuclear bombs in there. We have decommissioned nuclear warheads, and they're probably the biggest things I've ever seen in my life. They're probably the same height as a three-story building. When you're inside of the museum, they don't even have it. Like the ceiling is open because they're too tall for them to be sitting inside of this building that houses, planes and helicopters. They have them hanging from the ceiling, but the ceilings aren't high enough to house these nuclear warheads. We don't really want to use those. I don't think that anybody really wants to use those. Those are, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, purely a deterrent to stop somebody from doing the wildest thing they could possibly do to us.
yeah,
And it's a small country like North Korea. They don't have the manpower to go to war with us. Like they wouldn't be able to win an outright war. At least like on our land or in any land that's not in North Korea, where they don't have the advantage, like knowing the land and knowing the terrain.
hmm
If we were in a situation where it was our army against theirs, our army, I'm assuming is deeper. I'm assuming that it's more well funded. I'm
it is.
assuming that this is just a mismatch, and the nuclear warheads are he can use to kind of even the playing field, because now you don't have to send your soldiers over. You can just press a button, and that's the type of power that he wanted to have, especially with how he runs his country. You know that he's a control freak of sorts, so he kind of wanted to be able to press those buttons with people like Donald Trump to say that you can't just bully. That was the whole point of them getting nuclear bombs to me, is to
Yeah.
stop them from being bullied.
100%. It's 100% a deterrent. I'm gonna change the tone of the conversation just a little bit. So from the documents we have, Trump committed to provide security guarantees to Democratic Republic of North Korea. They're going to stop joint military operations and exercises with South Korea, and that's all in exchange for North Korea is going to denuclearize and stop actively pursuing more nuclear missiles. So,
Yeah, already though.
yeah, the Kim Jong Un pledged to that in April. But having it in writing is,
Yeah,
it's definitely a positive step.
they did shut down their bases too. Like I read that they shut down a couple of places a while ago. That they were like test sites type places that they
Yeah,
shut down. I should
100%.
have.
Yeah, they did shut down a couple sites that I read as well. But there is also there's no clause in the agreement that they have to announce their facilities. So we don't know what facilities they have, where their warheads are. We just know that they shut down a couple facilities. So that's important to note. And one thing that I found very interesting when researching for this is that this is not the first time that North Korea has denuclearized. You know, a lot of people are saying that Donald Trump has done something that people have been trying to do for decades. And I'm just going to list a few dates for y'all. The Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, 1985. Joint Declaration of Denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, 1992. 1994, North Korea agreed to stop plutonium production in exchange for supplies. And then we found out that they were enriching uranium for nukes right after that. In 2003, North Korea withdrew from the agreement that they signed in 1985. In 2005, they planned to abandon all nuclear weapons and programs. That's called the six party talks. In 2007, some administrative things went wrong with the six-party talks the first time, so they did them again. In 2007, administrative things went wrong again. 2012, North Korea agreed to suspend nuclear tests and uranium enrichment and allows inspectors for food and aid. And they allowed inspectors to come in and make sure that they were denuclearizing in exchange for food and aid. So
Okay.
there are a multitude of examples of when North Korea has agreed to denuclearization. So this, the fact that they signed this little treaty doesn't mean much. They've been doing things behind the world's back for years, literally decades. But it's a pattern in North Korean international interaction that they get into some sort of internal crisis. They make a whole bunch of threatening gestures and displays, saying they're getting nukes and doing all this stuff, and then they use denuclearization as a bargaining chip to get something that they want. Obviously, in this situation, it was stopping the exercise with South Korea, which isn't just a show of force. It also helps our troops and the South Korean troops prepare for any North Korean aggression. So we're going to stop that. And so now, if there is an altercation between the North and South Korea, the soldiers aren't going to be as cohesive. Will that matter in the long run? Who knows?
I don't think
Probably
so.
not. But it's a factor to consider.
I don't think that us stopping military exercises is that big of a deal because it would be different if we said that we were going to remove our soldiers from over there and we didn't say that. We said that we were going to stop our exercises, stop military exercises, but we would still be there, still kind of watching out what's going on. Our presence will still be felt there. We're just not threatening them in that same way because military exercises by two countries next door to us. Like if imagine if we had Russia and Mexico right now, right beside us, doing military exercises and saying they're not planning on bothering us. If we're the U.S., probably wouldn't like that too much. We would probably be like, "Yo, we need to watch them and see what they're doing."
Yeah,
Now, there, we see that they're there, but if they're not, practicing for war, it's a bit of a different environment. It's a bit of a different feeling, a different vibe that we're getting from that situation.
100%. So, in summary, we think that the meeting, at least I think, I'm not going to speak for Mark, but I think that the meeting overall was a positive meeting. Round of applause. You went over there, or, the president went over there. He talked with Kim Jong Un, saluted one of their generals. People thought that was a little bit outlandish, but it's a salute. He showed respect to their generals, and he gassed up Kim Jong Un's head a little bit, and
Yeah,
he
but
got denuclearization.
trying
And
to make
yeah, and even if it is a temporary peace, it is some sort of peace. So in no
better.
way are we saying that this is a negative deal for America. I don't think that we lost this meeting, but I also don't think that we necessarily won. Just if given the history of interaction with North Korea.
Especially now that they have their nuclear bombs, this is a different situation than everyone before because they denuclearized with their nuclear bombs in their hands, which
Yeah,
is something that they couldn't have done before. So now denuclearization is not exactly the same as it was in 2012 in North Korea.
100%. So, if you guys agree, disagree, again, leave comments. We love the comments that you guys are leaving. They are very encouraging. So keep doing that. Leave those comments. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that good stuff. We're gonna catch you guys next time. Thanks.